Okay, yes, you've been watching, events in Nigeria pertaining to the, war against insurgency, even wide there. And in recent time, let's say in the last 2 weeks, the Nigerian military, has been bombarding the hideouts of the criminals in the northeast and in that entire area. What's your, thought about this latest development? More so that the government, federal government, has given them up till the end of this year to wipe these elements out of existence.
Oh, thank you for that question. I think it's a question that deserves answer and responses from Nigerians. Actually, this is insecurity, and when we are talking about insecurity, it's like the state of being exposed to danger or threat, or basically it's lack of protection, and that is exactly what we try to build up, because the people in the northeast of Nigeria, they are not well protected the way they are expected. And basically, when we look at insecurity in Nigeria now, we have different forms of insecurity. We have emotional insecurity, and it could be in the form of physical. And but the one that we are facing now, that is very, very important. The theme of the discussion is about the physical one. And if you look at it, the insecurity in Nigeria does not start in a day. It started with the inception of democratic dispensation in 1999, and this has spread to every part of the country, not indeed the northeastern part of Nigeria. It has spread everywhere, and but with the clamors, with the Niger Delta militant during the I've just tried to bring you to the issue. We want to trend it.
Yes,
so with the clamors with the Niger Delta militant during the Yaradua, then to Boko Haram during Jonathan. But this situation has been aggravated now during this present government of Buhari, and you can see with the herdsmen, not even the Boko Haram, with herdsmen ravaging villages and killing people sporadically everywhere. But the question that, actually before even that one, different governments have tried to combat these problems without any success. The question is this: how are we going to abate this problem? Is this how this problem will continue? Yeah. The reason why we are still in this kind of issues today is because we have not been able to identify the problem, the cause of this problem. Though we are fighting insurgency, but we have not been able to identify that what are actually responsible for this insecurity in Nigeria. And that is where this government is failing, and that is why they have not been able to eradicate this problem. It's not even about eradication. The government has not been able to find tangible solution to even reduce the spate of these criminalities that have ravaged this country. Back to your question, you said the government has deployed military to combat, to
wipe them out of existence. Till the end of this year. That's a few days.
Yeah, that is true. But we need to ask ourselves that has government provided the logistics that are required to perform successful operation? And another thing is that is government sincere with that operation? Because if we look at something, that's what we call imbalance in the government. The one thing is that the government may show intention to do this, to solve that problem, but in reality, regard it as artificial. It's very cosmetic. That is, the government does not have genuine intention to do that. It may be cosmetic in the sense that they just want to show impression that the government is doing something. Because I don't believe that there's any group or a pressure group anywhere in the world that will be more powerful than the government. Look at what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. If the government is so resolute that they want to wipe out the insurgents in the Niger Delta and in
the northern part of Nigeria,
it doesn't take them like 3 days. Look at what happened in the Ogi when Obasanjo was there. Obasanjo was so resolute, and the rest is history. And that problem was solved within 3 days. But to me, the government has not provided the required logistic, and again, I don't believe that the government is sincere with the aim of combating that problem. That is my observation.
Okay, you talked about the causes of this problem. What have you been able to identify as being responsible for what we're facing in Nigeria today?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, one of the major causes of this problem is unemployment. And according to statistics, even the employment has gone to alarming state. It has thrown everyone to the state of panic that the country is becoming hopeless. We are living in the world of uncertainty, where people go to school, they graduate into forlorn hope. They don't even know what the future holds for them. And when we're talking about unemployment, the statistics says 7 out of 10 youths are officially unemployed in Nigeria. And according to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, NBC, it says unemployment in Nigeria has rising to 23.1%. Look at what is going to be the consequences, or what are going to be the consequences of unemployment. People will be so desperate, will look for different ways of making ends meet. They have to survive, and they don't care whether it is criminal, the way they have to source for their source of income, or everything is illegal or illegitimate. And this is what is causing the problem. This is mostly responsible for our problem in Nigeria. And the government is not doing anything to create jobs for the rising population of Nigeria and the increase in the number of graduates we are producing annually. So if you are producing graduates, and these graduates, they don't even have a hope of getting a job, then they will look for alternatives. And that is why we have visual killings. People are
internet fraud,
committing fraud without sense of guilt. And because they don't have there's no consequences for their action. And that is why this one continues. Unless government, and the problem is this, the government we have nowadays, they don't have the initiative to create jobs. And how do we create jobs? Is we are mainly a civil service country, like.
Because that was what I wanted to ask you. Yeah. That in advanced climes, like where you came from, Australia, the private sector, employs the most of the workers there. Yeah. But here in Nigeria, somebody, in a private setting will still consider himself or herself unemployed because it's not a government job. Should that be the situation? No. Even,
because the problem here between the private sector and the government is that there's a disparity. But in the same society, the private sector, the people working in the private sector, there's no disparity between their salary and that of the government. And they have job security. Their superannuations, like what do we call it, like retirement benefit, is the same. It's identical. So there's no difference between the people working in the private sector and people working in the public sector. So there's no difference. But the problem we have is that the government is not rising up to the challenges of employment in Nigeria. They are not interested in creating jobs for the unemployed youth. And that is causing a lot. People depend on government to survive. And until government do something about it, I don't think this problem will be solved. That is it.
Okay, now, yes, still talking about unemployment. In those days, in those years, like Lagos, we had many industries,
Yeah.
but the yards, the premises of those industries now have been turned to religious houses because the companies have exited. They've gone because of one, majorly, lack of stable electricity. And government has spent so much years back, even during Obasanjo, Yadra, and even before then, on this sector, and yet nothing is done. I mean, nothing has been achieved so far, nothing reasonable. And if you look at our cities, Okada is everywhere. Most of the artisans, radionic, and all of these that require electricity to do their work cannot, continue with that. So how can we really solve this problem? Because the issue of insecurity and some of these factors are interwoven, and so solving one problem could bring an end to insecurity.
Yeah, actually, I think you've raised the second cause of the insecurity problem in Nigeria, and that one is corruption.
Okay.
Basically, I can summarize that. That is the synopsis of that your question, and that's what I was even trying to bring up. This corruption. Corruption has become endemic. It has become part of us, and this one has paralyzed every sector. It has compromised every policy. We don't have a working system in Nigeria, to be honest. Nothing is absolutely working. Everything has just gone down. Everybody is just doing the way they like. You mentioned that those industries, let's take for example the older investment we are going to make. Look at the textile industry here that employed hundreds of people in those days. When I was schooling at University of Ado-Ekiti, also at Ondo State University, I have my cousins, my sister, they were working there, and they provide for all of us there. But what really happened to all these industries that we have in those days? And though nobody was so keen or so interested to get government job, everybody, like myself, I was aspiring to work in the textile industry there. But because of corruption, corruption has become part of us. Even from the airports, the immigration will start. Everybody is just talking about money in Nigeria. It's like the mentality has completely changed. Until we try to reconfigure our mentality, the problem will persist. It will persist. And let me tell you something. The one thing that we have not even taken note of is the impact of corruption on the judicial system and the police. These two systems are mostly responsible for Nigeria problem. All Nigeria problems, the security we are talking about. Because I told people it's like Nigeria has been thrown into a state of entropy. The disorderliness is so high that everybody is just behaving or doing anything the way they like. Like they can commit crime and they know there's no consequences for it. But if the judicial system is just, fair, and ready to punish offender without compromising, without a compromise, definitely that one is going to serve as a deterrent to other people. It will stop people from committing crime. And look at the activities of the police in Nigeria today. It's like we don't have police. The police is not working. This is not how it's being done in Nigeria. I remember in Australia, a serving high court judge broke traffic rule because that's the red light. The judge, he was a serving judge. He broke it. They sent letter to him that, okay, you broke a traffic rule. He denied that he was not the one driving at that particular time. Okay, instead of him to pay a fine of $350.
So that means human beings are the same everywhere.
Yes, are the same everywhere. But when you have a system, everybody has a criminal tendency. the propensity is there, the tendency is there to commit crime. But when you have a system that is working, that one will checkmate you. You understand? So because if you are guided by guidelines, by principle, by laws, you can't just behave the way you like. Because if you behave the way you like, definitely you know that there's punishment for that. Back to the story of the High Court judge. Okay, they now invited him. They played the video clip to him, the CCTV, and so do you know what happened to him? They did not even sack him from work. From work. They jailed him. He was jailed. Let me tell you something. Will somebody, you see that as an example, will somebody with that kind of history repeat itself? Yeah. It's going to serve as a deterrent to others. And you know, everything in this country has paralyzed. Like when I say the politics is corrupt, everything is but what is very painful to me, because I've been living outside the country for a while, but I still come home regularly, is that we are so corrupt. Even if we are corrupt and we are embezzling our money here, why do we have to take those money abroad and save it in overseas banks? Now, how many Europeans, how many white people have you seen bringing their resources from Australia or from UK to come and save their money in our banks here? They use, because our politicians, I don't know how we think. I don't know, maybe that's how God created us in this continent of Africa. You understand? We take our resources here, the money, even the liquid one, the money. I'm sorry, it's not the cash. The cash, we take it to overseas banks. We save the money there. The white people use the money to take care of their own citizens. Along the way, most of this money are stashed. Like
Abacha did.
It's not only. I don't know why people are. Well, it's not only Abacha. What about Abdul Salam? Abdul Salam spent how many months in government, and he was excessively rich. But nobody is talking about him. We are only talking Abacha. It's not only Abacha.
Maybe because he's dead.
Yeah, maybe because he's dead. So these are the problem until we have a workable system.
Okay, how do we get that workable system in place?
To have, that one lies in the hand of masses. The masses is contributing to the problem of Nigeria. During, like what I witnessed in the last election, people prefer to get maybe 5,000 naira during the election and vote for wrong candidates. When wrong candidate is in power, then what do you expect? Let me give you an example now. If somebody gives 5,000 to 1,000 people, that is about, to 100,000 people, that's about 5 billion naira. Yeah, that's, you give 5,000 to 100,000 people, that is 5 billion naira. But the 5,000 the electors are collecting during the election, it might be so small to them, but the politician that is spending that money for them is a huge amount of money. Maybe the politician has gone to the bank to borrow loan, and the politician has to pay interest on that on the loan. So when the politician has got to that position, he will try to at least pay that loan back before he listens to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. This is a very bad culture. It wasn't happening during the Awolowo time, or even before 1999. Because I don't know how this, unless we try to reconfigure our mentality in Nigeria. I'm talking about the masses. The masses are the architects of their own misfortunes, to be honest. In where I come from Australia, the government fear people. But in Nigeria, people fear government. The people live at the expense of the government. But the government is making billions of naira at the detriment of the society. And people are not, they have been impoverished. People cannot even reason beyond. I just don't even know how to describe it. It's like turning people into slavery, slaves. You understand? It's into slaves. They don't have hope anymore. You give them 5,000 during the election, it's like, yes, they are very happy with it. They don't look at the consequences that they have children in school. When these children graduate, they don't have job. You understand what I mean? So these are the problem is so complex.
Okay, Dr. Ayenimo, let's now look at, in the northern part of Nigeria, if you look at statistics from UNICEF and other international, bodies, you realize that the number of out-of-school children, particularly in the northern part, is alarming, and coupled with the current insurgency that has driven many of the children home. You understand? So, and people are saying that probably because of the culture, of the North, that they don't value education as much as the southern part of Nigeria, and that those children, those causing problems now, were probably majority of those who didn't attend school, years back, and that even currently those who are out of school now will still constitute a nuisance in the nearest future. So how can we really tackle this?
Yeah, that is a very challenging question. And I think from your question, I'm going to raise two issues from that. One is that the religious issue.
Okay.
The religious issue is what I even have intention to discuss. Because our religious leaders are very influential and they have thousands or millions of followers. But the problem there is that they preach false doctrine. They try to instigate people against the true doctrine of what they call either Islam or Christianity. Because our religious leader, they give false information to the followers, and that is what is causing the problem. I don't see there's any disadvantage in being educated. Education gives you exposure, and when you are educated, you have all the information, you are exposed to all the information you need to be successful in life. But because those people are being enslaved, their mind have been captivated with that kind of rituals from their preachers, from their religious leaders. So that is, and that is why, because the leaders tell them whatever they do, and they do it. And for instance, in Islam, they may give false doctrine that, okay, if you do this, you go to Al-Jannah or things like that. These people have been, it's like they've been manipulated. The only solution for that to liberate them is to be educated. But they don't want to accept that because of the false doctrine from their religious leaders. And that is causing that problem. And another problem there now that has made that issue aggravated is because our borders from the north is not well guided, it's very porous. And this allows influx of arms and ammunition and people of different cultural entity into Nigeria. And these people are causing lots of issues, and they try to induce our Nigerians into doctrines that can cause mayhem or that can cause problems in Nigeria. And for instance now, this issue of, that's what, I talked about imbalance the other time. So the imbalance I want to talk about is that the government is not paying attention to the borders in the north, but is mostly concerned about the borders in the south here.
Maybe because that's where the money is coming in to
No, it's not about the money. It's I think why, okay, now what government want to gain from that is because, to be honest, I will be very straightforward. We have a tribalistic government now. Tribalistic government. And that is what I'm trying to talk about, that we have government of imbalance. That we are a section of a particular country is more favored than other section. When I was in Agro, I think sometime like 2 or 3 years ago, I was at the School of Nursing at Adebayo Road. I saw some herdsmen, about 7 of them, carrying AK-47.
In broad daylight.
Broad daylight, AK-47. AK-47 along that road. And people gathered around them. Now, my brother, what gave them the authority, the freedom, all these herdsmen to be carrying gun? And whereas other people, other sections of the country, cannot have that kind of privilege. These are the things that we just need to discuss about. What is causing this discrimination in this current government? So this is partly what is responsible for the problem
you've raised. Yes, can you also link the porosity of the border? Corruption to the porosity of the border, because we have, customs, immigration, and all of these government agencies, in those areas. You talked about airports that when coming in or going out, all they ask is, what do we get? Give us money, and a lot of these, asking for money. So do you see some of the, agencies, the personnel of the agencies compromising, probably because they are making, huge money from that?
It's not, like what I said before, it's not agencies that are compromising. We have a mentality problem, like issues. It's everyone in Nigeria. My experience is that everybody is talking about money, nobody is talking about moral anymore. Even in terms of the security, everybody wants to build mansions, have many houses, buy cars at the detriment of other people. And like what I said when I was coming, the immigration people asking for money, what can I get, this and that, what did you bring for me? Unnecessary questions like that. And you can see how the question we need to ask ourselves: how did this AK-47 go to Nigeria? How do we have a grenade, sophisticated weapons, even more than the one the police is having, the military? Why is the military, the army, why are they failing? Why is the army failing in combating insurgents? I've never heard about this happening in any part of the world where the terrorists are having more sophisticated weapons than the military. It's because of corruption. It's because the government allow it. To me, and I'm telling you, the present government of APC or Buhari is not sincere with the objective of combating crimes in Nigeria.
But there have been governments of other parties, before Buhari came in, and they've not really been able. This insurgency started way back during Obasanjo, and it festered up till Yadwa, Jonathan, and inherited by this government.
You are perfectly correct, man. I agree with you. But like when I was trying to tell you the trend about history, I mentioned Yaradua to Jonathan. But during Jonathan regime, the ideas of all this Boko Haram or this terrorism is a calculated, is a political game. It was being calculated to discredit Jonathan government, to allow to harvest sympathy from people that under the government of Jonathan it wasn't safe.
But some people are also saying at present that this insurgency, is a calculated political game to discredit the current government, because each government, each administration will blame, any negative occurrence, on the opposition, like it was during Jonathan, so it is today.
You may be correct in that way, but I will try to give you a very simple illustration. Now, the present government is I think maybe he has done the link trade, the northern part of Nigeria with the neighboring country.
Okay, that's a real
transportation. In those days, like in those years, like before 1990s, all the tribes in Nigeria were living together peacefully without any issues. The Fulani we knew they were not causing problems. They live in Ado, they live in Ilawe, they live everywhere. And the nomadic Fulanis, the one that rear cattle, they go with sticks, not with AK-47. They're serving now. And just of a sudden then, especially this present government, even when we talk about Boko Haram during Jonathan region, now it was mainly Boko Haram, and that one was completely confined to the north. Even not to the north, but to the northeast of northeast of Nigeria. But now it's everywhere, and it has even aggravated to kidnapping. You understand? Robbery, kidnapping, everything else are working synergistically. So what I'm saying is that this one is not a calculated attempt to discredit the Buhari government. But we have issues. What is causing this problem is because we have people that we don't have we have different culture. People that have not been part of Nigeria before. You're trying to link these people that was not even trained before. They still influx to Nigeria en mass, bringing guns, bringing arms and ammunition, kidnapping our girls, kidnapping our boys, and trying to cause mayors of violence in Nigeria. Now you try to create trade. Why not create trade in other parts of Nigeria, and to enhance or to boost or to catalyze economic growth? But why do you have to link Nigeria with Mali, with the Niger Republic, then goes to Mali, while we have a space of or crisis of insurgencies?
So you're not saying it was a misplaced priority?
It was intentional. It was deliberate. Okay. The Buhari administration has a purpose for that. It has a purpose for that, to be honest.
Okay. Yes, before we allow you go, how can we now solve all of these problems? So, all of these, factors that have been contributing to insecurity in our nation. How can we tackle that?
Yeah, like what I said before, we can tackle one. The government should try to create jobs. That is number one. So that even in Ekiti State now, there's no private industries. The only thing we have is the private schools. And you can see the number of people that are gainfully employed. But if we have all these corrupt politicians who stash our money overseas, if they use those money to invest locally, the local people can benefit from it. That one will create employment. It's not very hard to create employment. You can go to China, send some people to China to
acquire knowledge.
To acquire knowledge. Then we have farm produce here that we can even convert to finished products. We can produce alcohol, we can produce beer, I can establish brewery. Like when I study chemistry, and chemistry involves everything. If I have that opportunity, I can establish brewery, functional operational brewery in Ekiti State. But the government of Nigeria, they don't have it. The cause of the problem is the masses, because we have wrong people in political offices. That is one thing. Then the second thing to combat security is the judicial system and the police. I don't know how the government is going to rehabilitate them. If you keep increasing the salary of police to millions of naira per month, it's not going to change them. It's like everybody just thinking about money. They don't take their job as priority. I'm telling you, life is meaningless for anybody here. People prefer to kill somebody because of 5 naira in Nigeria, even because of 1,000 naira. They can kill you. I've seen it. I've seen that even on the social media and things where police killing people because of 1,000 naira, and people kidnapping, and all kidnappers killing people because of money. It's because we don't have sense of guilt. And when these people are brought to court, then it depends on if you can buy freedom. It depends. There are a lot of cases where the judges write judgment in the houses of the defendant or the plaintiff, and deliver the judgment in favor of whoever that is higher bidder. And the judges are not being punished for this. Okay, look at we have one constitution in Nigeria, don't we? But why are we giving different judges different judgments? The verdict in the court will be different from the Court of Appeal, will be different from the Supreme Court. Many cases will be knocked out on technical grounds.
Even courts of coordinated jurisdiction. Maybe one in Port Harcourt, another one will be on the same issue.
On the same issues. It's like, the way I can describe situation in Nigeria is like, Nigeria is now becoming a situation where medical doctors are working in court, and the lawyers or the jurists are working in hospital. Everything has gone topsy-turvy. It's upside down. But we, the masses, we have a role to play. And what is the role? Our vote is very, 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 very powerful. Until we decide to elect the credible candidate, this problem will continue to linger. It won't solve. That is just it.
Okay. To our youths, because most of them are into, crimes, internet fraud, ritual killing, and all of that. So what's your advice to them?
Yeah, like what I would advise to them is that I will use my case as an example. I was a lecturer at Obafemi Awolowo University, and I wasn't born from a rich family. I'm from Omu background. But because I was so focused and I was so determined, and I know that the only way out of the poverty was to be well educated and use my education as a means to acquire more skills and knowledge on how to develop myself. But the problem we have nowadays with our youth is that some of them are so much desperate to acquire wealth overnight. They don't want to. You can hardly see anybody now any trade work, like all this vulcanizing, mechanic, or anything. They don't want to do it. And even people that are going to the university, they indulge in all kinds of internet fraud or something like that because they want to.
And don't you know that these, criminalities that you're talking about, are being influenced by the social media. Some of our people flaunt their wealth on the social media. You see these artists, singers, all these actors and all of that, trying to create an impression they are well-to-do.
Yeah, you are very correct. And, kidnapping wasn't part of crimes in Nigeria in those days. Do you know when the kidnapping have become so conspicuous? It's when the case of this Eva. The way police handled that case was very distasteful. They publicized his ill-gotten wealth, and that one sent a signal to the populace, to the youth, that it's even more lucrative to go into this venture than into robbery. And that is why we have spate of kidnapping everywhere. You kidnap this one, you get like 20 million naira in a day. So, and that's what I'm saying, that the police is causing a lot of problems. But my advice to the youth, back to your question, is that they should desist from all these crimes. We can make it, we can become somebody, we can be successful if we even do legitimate business. Like if you go to school, you seek admissions overseas, seek for scholarship. There are many scholarships abound. But nowadays, the people, what they are doing with their what we call this smartphone is, if you see, it's like posting new photos, looking at on something that cannot bring success to their life. But in those days, we didn't have access to internet. We have to go to my smartphone. We have to go to cafe to browse. What information were we looking for? Scholarships overseas. How to get admission. That is how I got scholarship. My school fees was around $23,000 a year, and I spent 5 years. My parents cannot afford it, but I have to look for scholarship. I have to do English exam, things like that. That was the kind of information that we were looking for. But these days now, what the youth are doing with the smartphone buying credit is to look for music, or the posting new photo, you see somebody that is urinating, you take the video. Look at what Wole Soyinka said. There was this building that collapsed in Lagos, and the emergency response team was going there to rescue people. You could not believe people blocked the way, and what they were busy taking photos and sending it. It's not that they were helping people to rescue people. No. They were just taking photos, just to take photos and post it on the social media, nothing. So this kind of habit, I think our youth should look more than what they are doing now. Find there are a lot of opportunities for them. It's not necessary for them to go overseas before they can become successful. But you can start some business, like how do we produce alcohol from cassava? How do we produce milk from this? There are a lot of beneficial information you can acquire from the internet.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, we've been speaking with a Nigerian based in Australia, Dr. Goyega Ayenimo. Has been talking about how to end insecurity in Nigeria. Doctor, thank you for your time on Daybreak
Thank you very
Nigeria.
much for bringing me to your coverage. It's my pleasure.
All right. Daybreak Nigeria continues. After this time out, we'll take a short documentary on living with disability. You remember the World Disability Day was marked last Saturday. So we'll take a bit of that before taking newspapers. Please stay tuned.
Beat of the Southwest. We break your day on EKTV Daybreak